Hey everybody, I'm trying to do an ed puzzle today to try and get a jump start on our accounting unit. I've never done an ed puzzle here, so I'm trying this out for the first time, so I apologize if this gets a little choppy. I hope you guys like it. I think this is a good opportunity to keep our class moving forward with a new unit because we don't really have much time to give yet. Since I'm not here, can't really teach it, but I figured you guys can hang out in class and get through some of the very basic material in accounting while I am gone. So here we go. Every so often, it's going to stop and ask you some questions. Just answer those questions as we go along here, and when I get back, we can kind of get started on the heavier notes. Accounting is a somewhat more challenging unit, so make sure you're paying attention here. This is the basic stuff, so this shouldn't be too hard. Um, but every day, this class is going to get a little bit more challenging until we start some simulations. So here we go. The basics of this unit in accounting is the whole idea of processing and recording the financial position of the business. So the accounting department receives money, spends money, pays bills, gets sales, sends out invoices, gets owed money. So accounting is essentially just the process of logging numbers in certain categories so the business knows who owes them money, who have they gotten money from, where is money coming in, and where is money going out. So, who needs to know this information? Well, obviously, the CEOs or CFOs would want to know this information, and they would want to know it so they know how their business is doing, if they're in a lot of debt, how to pay some of that debt off, where money's coming in, and where's it going out. Certain departments might want to know, like the sales department, because if a department is selling one product more than the others, they either need to market the other products better, get rid of the other products, change the prices of it, lower it, raise it, whatever might need to happen. The employees want to know generally because they need to know how is the business doing itself. If you're working for a business that isn't doing so well, it is nice to know that. So maybe it might be time to look for some other work. A big person that needs to know this information is, of course, the government. The government needs to know this information because you need to report all earnings to the IRS because remember, this is a business and they are taxed very, very heavily. So therefore, this information all needs to be legally and properly recorded so that the government knows how much money you have to pay in taxes and how much money you have paid in taxes. So pretty much everyone really does need to know the accounting of the business. Again, a lot of you buy and sell stock based on this information, so it is really important for everybody to know. So, thinking about if you're in fifth period, we have Stadium Express, and if you are in eighth period, we have Snapshot. So, thinking about Stadium Express or Snapshot, what kind of things will they own? So, Edpuzzle should prompt you here to ask you what are some things that Snapshot or Stadium Express or Temp Pillow or the other products that we've done, what are some things that they might actually own as a business? Another thing to think about is, well, businesses don't always just own stuff, they also owe people stuff. So, what type of things would Stadium Express owe money to? Like, who might they owe money to? Why might they owe money to these people? Again, answer these questions in the Ed Puzzle. Okay, so once you've answered those questions in the Ed Puzzle, the next thing we want to talk about here is assets and liabilities. There are three major accounts that we need to get our minds wrapped around. Two of the three are assets and liabilities. When we start logging our numbers into certain categories, we need to understand, is it an asset or is it a liability? So again, some questions I have for you on your Ed Puzzle coming up here are, is an automobile an asset or is it a liability? Is gold an asset or a liability? And so on and so forth. So again, check out the Ed Puzzle prompt here and answer those questions as follows. Just want to know what you guys feel is an asset and what is a liability. So take a second and do those questions. Okay, so now that you're done with those questions, let's go over what is an asset and what is a liability. Let's take a look at this. Automobiles and gold are assets. Again, that is things that we own. Assets are things that we own and have value. A loan we have to pay is obviously a liability. Liabilities mean when we owe someone, we are liable for those bills. Um, so let's just say you borrow $5 from your friend. Well, you got a candy bar or a few candy bars with those $5, but you owe your friend $5. So what do you have? You have $5 worth of candy. Those are assets. But you owe your friend $5. That's a liability. And that's kind of how this stuff gets logged. Cash is obviously the number one liability, or is the number one asset, sorry. Bond your company has to pay out. That means you owe someone money. That's a liability. Money you owe people you bought things from. Obviously, that is a liability. You owe someone money. Paid insurance. Let's take a second, take a look at this one. Since you paid for the insurance, that means you own it. If you have a bill in the mail for the insurance, that is a liability. But once you have paid for your insurance, you own that item. Again, money that you owe me is a liability. Money that I owe you would be an asset. All right. So again, assets are things that the company owns that has value. A sheet of paper technically is an asset, but no one really cares about it. It has no significant financial value. So therefore, we only really care about things with large monetary values. Like again, think about the school store. We have cash. We have a cash register, like equipment. We have like shelvings. We have refrigerators, and like the school pays for insurance. And since that is prepaid, those are all assets. So if you're wondering if we're ever using cash, equipment, or prepaid insurance, those accounts are listed as assets. And remember that because that's going to come up a little later on. Now they're counted as assets even if the company owes money on it. So let's take a look at this situation. Let's just say you own a coffee delivery service. So you have a tricked out coffee delivery truck. It's valued at $75,000, but you just opened up business. You actually owe $60,000 on that truck because remember, you took out a loan to buy the truck. You didn't pay 100% cash for it. Although we owe $60,000 on the truck, that's technically a liability. We count the full $75,000 as an asset. Again, $75,000 is the asset. $60,000 is the liability. Again, picture that in your head. We're going to get to that a little bit later. $60,000 is what you owe, but you technically have the entire truck in your possession, so you do own the truck. So, prompting here, what are some assets that you own? What are things that you own that actually have value? Even if your parents bought it for you, that's okay. List those in the Ed Puzzle question. Next up, we have liabilities. So again, back to that tricked out coffee truck situation. Tricked out coffee delivery truck is worth $75,000. We owe $60,000 on that loan. So again, $75,000 is the asset. $60,000 is the liability. A liability is what we owe. Assets are what we own. Liabilities is what we owe. Again, liabilities equal debt. Money we owe people because we didn't pay them yet. We will have to in the future. By law, you have to pay your liabilities, but we haven't paid them yet. We will in the future. That is a liability. We are liable to pay our bills. Let's just say, for instance, we order some hoodies in the school store. They'll send us the hoodies and send us an invoice. We have 90 days to pay that invoice. We have the hoodies. Those are assets, but we haven't actually paid for them yet. We do owe, let's say, $2,000 in liabilities. So identifying when we start looking at different types of accounts and we start actually starting accounting, anything that says blank payable is identifying the account as a liability. So accounts payable would mean that maybe you owe money to your employees. Your employees work for you every single day, but you only pay them every 2 weeks. So technically, your liability there is your employee's salary. and that will go into